All right, so I got a comment the other day on one of my videos about your college degree is useless. Here's why. And to quote, and I'll just pop it here too so you guys can see it. Not true. It depends on your major, the current job market, and where you live. Times have changed, but it's always been this way. If you go to school without a strategy, of course the degree will be useless. That's why I made that video, man. Like, I've heard that many times. I even gave myself an example. Did you even watch the whole video, bro? But anyways, on the surface, this sounds reasonable, right? Work the system, choose the right major, maybe live in a country where it's still being heralded and stuff like that, then boom, you're set. But here's why that way of thinking is stupid in 2025 and beyond, and dangerously outdated. Point one, young adults aren't career strategists, okay? So let's be honest. Most young adults entering college aren't career economists or market analysts. They pick their majors based on three things. For the most part, what they like or think sounds fun. Me, an example, I was gonna do an accounting major 10 years ago. Did all the classes, went to calculus, but I was like, oh, I don't see myself sitting in front of a screen doing Excel work every single day, analyzing whatever crap spreadsheet. All right? Sounds fun, right? But I was like, nah, I'm gonna switch to communication. So that's what I did. Point two is what their parents pressure them to study. I got several acquaintances and a couple of coworkers who graduated with a degree that their parents pressured them to. One of them is becoming software and engineer, dentist, lawyer, nurses, all that stuff. And point three is what they think will lead to high paying job based on outdated advice. Like 5 years ago, heck, even 8, 10 years ago when I was in school, people were so obsessed with software engineering jobs because that was high paying then. It's still high paying right now. It's still on demand, but it's also getting edged out by mass layoffs and AI. And here's the reality. The market changes faster than the degree cycle. By the time that college student walks across the stage 4 years later, or maybe 5 years later, because, they took a year off or slacked off, the world can completely shift. Like I said too, in that video, and what I'm gonna say again, AI just shifted things so much within the past 2 years, 2023 to 2025. Whole industries disappear, and like I said, AI automates roles that were safe just a few years ago, and now it's crazy. Companies demand entirely new skills that aren't even in the syllabus. And a perfect example would be marketing and, like myself, communications, right? 5 years ago, social media marketing was booming. Now, AI tools like ChatGPT, Jasper, and Midjourney can generate ads, captions, and entire campaigns faster than associate junior employees. Okay? Another one, and this one is big. I'm seeing a lot of former colleagues who went back to school because they think it's an awesome degree way back when, and then now they're like, wait, I shouldn't have pursued that. Now I'm in debt. And what I'm talking about is computer science. So even in tech, entry-level coding jobs are being replaced by AI code generators like GitHub, Copilot, and a bunch of others. Big tech companies are literally hiring fewer juniors and relying more on automation. So no, telling young adults just be strategic is almost like a joke. By the time they graduate, that target moved. And the degree market is oversaturated now. 10 years ago, I had many former friends from high school that didn't even go to college. And I know a few acquaintances who never went to college because they couldn't afford it or they think it's stupid. But now, it's the new high school diploma, like I said in that video. And that commenter said it's always been this way. Bro, no, it hasn't. Like I said, when I graduated 10 years ago, if you had a degree, almost any degree really, art history, you could land an entry-level job in a corporate role. You could be a recruiter, recruiting coordinator. You could be an outside sales representative. You could be an executive assistant. Back then, companies needed humans for almost every single thing. And today, we are dealing with historic layoffs, hitting every industry, not just tech. Experienced professionals with 10 plus years experience in the field taking entry level jobs just to survive, make ends meet, feed their family. And outsourcing, right? Outsourcing. I got many colleagues who got laid off because their roles got outsourced somewhere else, specifically India or Philippines. AI and outsourcing crushed low and mid level roles. So this means your average college graduate is now competing with someone with 10 plus 15 plus years of experience, willing to take a pay cut, someone who can do the same work with AI faster, someone living in a lower cost state or another country willing to work for less. So it's not always been this way. It's the worst it's ever been for new grads. Geography doesn't save you anymore either. The comment also said that it depends on what part of the country you live in. So that used to be true before remote work and global competition kicked in. But in 2025, it doesn't matter if you're in New York, Texas, or Ohio. You're competing with someone in India, the Philippines, or Eastern Europe who can do the same job remotely for half the cost. So the old thinking that you can just move to a better market is obsolete. The market is now global. But here's the harsh reality. Companies don't care about your degrees unless it directly translates into skills. Degrees are slow, expensive, and disconnected from reality. Meanwhile, a self-taught coder with a GitHub portfolio beats a computer science graduate with no projects. I have many acquaintances who's in that same boat. They never went to college, but were just gifted. Self-taught coder who now works for Meta, aka Facebook, Apple, Google, Microsoft, right? All these big tech guys. And then also a digital marketer with a viral TikTok campaign beats a marketing major who only did group projects. A tradesperson or AI prompt engineer is making six figures while debt-ridden grads are unemployed. But here's the thing. The real danger of thinking like this, commenter, is the debt trap, right? You're basically telling students, it's fine, just choose the right major and the right city. You'll be fine. No, bro. Except most people don't have a strategy. Like I said, they take on 40K, 60K, heck, even 120K in debt and graduate into a market that doesn't want them. They're stuck in the cycle of underemployment, delaying buying a home, starting a family, or even moving out of their parents' house. So yes, technically, if you're hyper strategic and you hit a booming field at the perfect time, your degree can pay off. But for 80% of students, that old school thinking leads straight to debt and disappointment. The game has changed. AI is replacing jobs. Mass layoffs are ruthless. Skills, portfolios, and adaptability now crush degrees in 2025. So I'll say it again. If you go to college without a crystal clear plan, you're gambling your future. And that commenter's advice, it's setting up people to lose. Done.